Scott's Domino. Here he is, Mickey Rourke.
In 1986, Mickey Rourke could have been the biggest star in the world. He had the looks, he had the talent, he had offers worth millions, but he kept making choices that nobody understood. He turned down Top Gun. He rejected Platoon. He walked away from a sequel that would have paid him $500,000. Then he started boxing and let doctors break his face apart. His wife later said he pulled a gun on her during their wedding night, and by 2006, he was hiding in a closet, ready to end it all. What really drove him to destroy everything he built? The answer is darker than you think. Mickey Rourke entered the world on September 16, 1952, in Schenectady. But his childhood never felt steady. His father walked out when he was 6, and by the time he was 10, his mother had remarried a Miami Beach police officer named Eugene Addis. Life shifted again, only this time it turned darker. Addis beat him with extension cords so often that Mickey later said it built a kind of survival rage inside him, something that shaped both the fighter and the actor he became. He remembered the shame and the anger and how it pushed him to lash out first before anyone could hurt him again. In 2025, he told Radar Online that the fear from those years stayed with him long after he became famous, stealing sleep from him for nights on end. When he turned 12, he found a place that made sense to him. The Miami Golden Gloves gym became his second home, and he threw himself into boxing with everything he had. He rose fast through the amateur ranks and seemed to fit perfectly into the world of sweat and punches. But when he was 17, everything changed during one match in 1971. He landed a hit that put his opponent into a coma, and the doctors told him to step away from the ring for a year. The guilt stayed with him for decades. It seeped into his dreams and later fed the insomnia that ate at him during his acting years. His amateur record ended with 27 wins and 3 losses, 12 of those wins by knockout. Yet all he remembered clearly was the night that broke him. So, for a while he backed away from boxing because he didn't trust what it might turn him into. In 1971, he was 19 and restless and ready to run. He dropped out of Miami Beach Senior High, hitchhiked to New York City, and landed in a tiny flophouse in Hell's Kitchen that cost him $200 a month. The place smelled of sweat and street food, and he survived by working as a nightclub bouncer. People said he broke 14 jaws in 18 months, and while the number floated around the city like a rumor, his reputation grew with it. Even then, though, he wanted something else. He wanted a stage where his fire could do more than bruise bones. In 1976, he joined the Actors Studio under Lee Strasberg, paying $35 a class, and everything inside him shifted. His first paid role came through an off-Broadway play called The Hairy Ape, where he earned $150 a week. An agent noticed him there and soon booked him for episodes of City Confidential. His intensity grabbed people fast, and the city started whispering his name. By the time 1982 arrived, Mickey Rourke was ready for something big. That moment came with Diner. Barry Levinson had auditioned more than 600 actors for the film, and Mickey survived 17 rounds before he finally got the role of Boogie. MGM paid him $75,000, a shocking sum for someone so new. The movie cost $5 million to make and pulled in more than $30 million worldwide. His pool hall breakdown scene, done in just 4 takes, left critics stunned. That performance earned him the National Society of Film Critics Award and pushed him straight into Hollywood's spotlight. Things moved quickly after that. In 1983, Francis Ford Coppola chose him to play the motorcycle boy in Rumble Fish after 3 intense screen tests. Coppola handed him books by Camus and even a biography of Napoleon so he could slip deeper into the character. Mickey took it seriously, modeling his look after Camus and letting his cigarette hang off his lip the same way. 40% of his brother's death scene came from improvisation, something Coppola loved. The film had a budget of $10 million, but only earned $2.5 million in the US. Even so, people felt something in it, and it slowly grew into a cult classic. Right after that came another fork in the road. Studios offered him $500,000 for a Rumblefish sequel, but he walked away from it and chose The Pope of Greenwich Village instead. They paid him a full $1 million for the role, something almost unheard of for a rising star. But the set turned explosive. Mickey clashed with producer Stuart Rosenberg and even punched him during an argument about script changes. That single punch echoed across Hollywood, marking him as dangerous to work with. The film made only $6.8 million against its $8 million budget, but critics praised the raw electricity he brought to Charlie. Eureka had come around the same time, giving him an $800,000 paycheck to play a rogue miner. Roger Ebert later called it his most unhinged work. The movie barely made $123,572 worldwide, even though it cost $11 million to produce. Its strange style confused people and slipped through theaters with almost no attention. Over time, it earned a small, loyal fan base, but the failure slowed Mickey's momentum at a moment when he needed forward motion the most. Then there was the infamous pinky finger scene in The Pope of Greenwich Village. People still talk about it. In the movie, it wasn't a pinky. It was a thumb. Eric Roberts played Paulie, and the mobsters cut it off in a single brutal take. Frank Vincent swung the knife with everyone watching, and the tension in the room soaked into the film. The budget was $10 million, and it made $12 million in return. Mickey earned another $1.2 million from back-end profits. That scene became one of the most unforgettable moments in 1980s crime films. Year of the Dragon arrived next in 1985, directed by Michael Cimino. Mickey played Stanley White, a racist cop taking on the Chinatown Triads. The movie shot for 92 days and cost between $21.5 and $24 million. It made only $18.7 million in the US and about $30.4 million worldwide. Asian American groups protested it for its portrayal of Chinatown, and the backlash hurt its release in major cities. Even so, Mickey earned a BAFTA nomination for the performance. People said the set was exhausting, and almost everyone walked away drained. The film became known less for its box office and more for the uproar around it. A year later, he made a choice that showed who he really was. He turned down roles in Top Gun and Platoon so he could star in 9.5 weeks. The movie had a $17 million budget and earned more than $100 million worldwide. The Ice Cube scene became the thing everyone talked about. It took 22 takes, and director Adrian Lyne pushed both Mickey and Kim Basinger to the edge with emotional tricks and long hours. Mickey could have taken safer roles, but he chose the one that demanded everything from him. That decision made him a sex symbol and a global star. Then came Angel Heart in 1987. It cost $17 million to make and earned $15.9 million in the US, but later grew into another cult classic. The set held one of Mickey's most shocking moments. During a rehearsal, he punched co-star Lisa Bonet in frustration. It wasn't planned, but Alan Parker captured the emotion and kept it in the final cut. The film drifted through dark themes and occult elements, and Mickey sank fully into the role of Harry Angel. Even though the box office numbers disappointed, people still return to Angel Heart today for its atmosphere and Mickey's raw commitment. Mickey Rourke's preparation for Barfly in 1987 pulled him into a world that felt more real than the one he lived in. To play Henry Chinaski, the alcoholic poet shaped from Charles Bukowski's life, he didn't just act drunk, he lived as one. For 3 long months he drifted through seedy LA motels, drinking heavily, losing 20 pounds, and letting the same darkness swallow him that swallowed Chinaski. When filming began, he didn't need to pretend. He carried the despair in his face and the grit in his voice, and it showed in every frame. During one bar scene, he punched a hole straight through a door without warning anyone. The moment was so raw and convincing that Barbette Schroeder kept it in the film. The movie cost $3 million and only made $3.2 million. But Rourke walked away with the Chicago Film Critics Award for Best Actor. Even Bukowski said he was the only one who could have played him. The preparation stayed with Rourke long after the cameras stopped. He later admitted he struggled to shake the character off, almost like he had opened a door he couldn't close again. That intensity carried into his choices, and sometimes it pushed him down strange paths. In 1989, he turned down 2 roles that could have changed everything. One was Charlie Babbitt in Rain Man, a role Dustin Hoffman personally begged him to take. The other was John Keating in Dead Poets Society. Instead, he picked Johnny Handsome, a dark and gritty story that matched the moods he kept chasing. The film cost $20 million, but only earned $7.2 million. Critics said its bleak tone and his intense performance didn't land with audiences. And Walter Hill admitted he never expected the movie to work for everyone. Rourke's decision confused Hollywood because both Rain Man and Dead Poets Society would go on to become cultural landmarks. His choice made it clear he cared more about complex characters than safe success, but it also quietly marked the start of a slide at the box office. The same pattern followed him into 1988, when he directed, wrote, and starred in Homeboy. He believed in the project so strongly that he took out $5 million in loans to make it himself. But the film barely made $421,000. To make the boxing scenes real, he let himself take real punches until his nose broke, and he needed multiple MRIs. He said his trainer sometimes had to push him up the stairs because he was too beaten to climb on his own. The constant injuries, mixed with the film's failure, crushed him. Even he admitted he misbehaved on set and earned the kind of reputation that made studios nervous. Homeboy became another moment where his dedication looked heroic on the inside but destructive everywhere else. The next year he stepped into Francesco, a biographical story about St. Francis of Assisi. It had a $5 million budget and almost no American audience. Critics said his St. Francis felt shy and lacking charisma, but something deeper was happening behind the scenes. During filming, he briefly converted to Catholicism. He leaned on faith and the guidance of his priest during a heavy chapter in his life. The movie was quiet, spiritual, and easily overlooked, but it became a strange and personal stop in his journey. Vangelis created a haunting score, giving the film a solemn mood that matched the inner questions Rourke was battling at the time. Then, in 1990, he stepped into Desperate Hours as a violent killer, and everything seemed to tilt even further. The film had an $18 million budget, but made only $2.7 million worldwide. Critics tore into it. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 29% rating, and Roger Ebert called it an overwrought melodrama with unnatural dialogue. Rourke's performance earned him a Razzie nomination for Worst Actor. Even with a strong cast that included Anthony Hopkins and Mickey Rourke, the movie collapsed. Audiences hated the confusing plot. The direction felt scattered, and the acting seemed off balance. It became one more sign that his Hollywood standing was slipping. Later that same year came Wild Orchid, an erotic thriller with a $10 million budget that somehow pulled in $50 million worldwide, even though critics shredded it with a 9% rating. The film was packed with controversy because of the intense scenes Rourke filmed with 17-year-old model Carré Otis, who later became his wife. Rumors spread that one of their scenes was real, though both denied it. Scenes had to be cut to avoid an X rating. Behind the camera, Rourke pushed for 14-hour shoots that drained the entire crew. The relationship between him and Otis turned into a storm of passion and violence. Years later, she spoke openly about the abuse she experienced. The movie made money, but the chaos around it added more cracks to his already unstable image. And still, he kept choosing hard roads. In the early 1990s, he turned down Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs and Elliot Ness in The Untouchables because he wanted to box. Agents told him it would destroy his career. He ignored them. He felt he had lost the respect of Hollywood and believed boxing might help him find himself again. Between 1991 and 1994, he fought 8 professional bouts, winning 6 with 4 knockouts and ending 2 in draws. He fought in Miami and Spain and Germany and Japan. He also paid for it with broken noses, cracked ribs, a compressed cheekbone, a split tongue, and short-term memory loss. Doctors warned him, but he kept going until they finally banned him from fighting. At 32, his boxing chapter was over, but the scars stayed. Those injuries brought huge medical bills. He earned about $250,000 in boxing, but spent around $1 million trying to fix the damage. One surgery went horribly wrong when a so-called doctor placed a cheek implant that left his face more damaged than before. By the time he left the ring for good in 1994, after a TKO win over Thomas DeLuisio, his appearance had changed so much that tabloids called him a walking surgery nightmare. He went through at least 6 more procedures to repair the damage, but the results were uneven. The face people once recognized seemed almost gone, and Hollywood didn't know what to do with him anymore. Through all this came his marriage to Carré Otis, which began on December 26, 1992. Their relationship, already forged in chaos during Wild Orchid, became a magnet for tabloids. In May 1994, she filed an abuse complaint accusing him of violence. Rourke was arrested and posted $50,000 bail. The charges were later dropped, but the damage was permanent. The media painted him as volatile, and Otis described a marriage filled with emotional and physical abuse. Even though the case didn't move forward legally, his public image suffered deeply. The scandal blended into everything else he was facing, adding another heavy weight to the years that pushed him into his long decline. It started with a small film that never lifted him the way he hoped. Exit in Red came out in 1996 with a tiny budget of $500,000, and Mickey Rourke took $200,000 of it as his pay, which already said something about where the money went. They filmed in Palm Springs, and he played a psychiatrist trying to escape a lawsuit only to fall into a murder plot. People had expected at least a spark from him, but critics tore the film apart. One reviewer said it was an unmitigated failure, and even joked that Mickey looked like he had been dressed by a mental hospital. The movie sank fast and left barely a ripple behind it, which made the sting feel even sharper because it showed how far he had drifted by the late 90s. As the years passed, he carried that same downward pull into his personal life. In November 2007, long after his glory years, he was stopped on a Miami Beach street at 4 in the morning while swerving on a green Vespa. His blood alcohol level came out to .22, nearly 3 times the legal limit. And even though he insisted he wasn't that drunk, the report said his eyes were bloodshot, his speech was slurred, and the smell of alcohol followed him. He had a woman on the back of the scooter, and he even made a U-turn right in front of a police car, forcing the officer to brake. He ended up with community service and a $4,000 fine, and the moment became one more reminder that he was stuck in a long stretch of wilderness years. Yet something shifted right before all that when he took on Marv in Sin City in 2005. The film cost $40 million and brought in $158 million worldwide. But beyond the numbers, people remembered Marv. Mickey gained 30 pounds and sat through long makeup sessions every day, turning himself into a scarred brute with a strange sense of honor. Even Frank Miller said the movie was impossible to imagine without Marv. The character's violent path, from a murdered prostitute to a cannibalistic killer to a final act of sacrifice, brought Mickey back into the spotlight. For the first time in years, people looked at him and said he was still capable of greatness. But that light didn't erase the failures. And Domino in 2005 reminded him of that. The film cost $50 million and made only 10. Everything felt chaotic. Reports came out about him punching a stuntman during a disagreement, and critics called the movie confusing and exhausting. Even with a star cast, nothing landed. Domino became a warning more than a film and added another bruise to his already battered reputation. Slowly, though, a different story waited ahead, and it finally burst open in 2008 with The Wrestler. Darren Aronofsky chose him after 200 rejections from studios, trusting the broken man more than the industry did. The movie cost $6 million and earned $44.7 million worldwide. Mickey won a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, and received an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. When he stood on stage at the Golden Globes, he broke down and dedicated the win to 9 of his dogs who had died, calling them his only family during his darkest years. The film won the Golden Lion at Venice, and everyone felt the rawness of Randy the Ram, a man clinging to the last bits of who he once was. People said Mickey wasn't acting. He was simply telling the truth. That truth carried into Iron Man 2 in 2010, when he played Ivan Vanko. Marvel wanted him, but offered only $250,000 at first. Robert Downey Jr. reportedly gave up part of his own $10 million salary to bring Mickey's pay closer to $2 million. The movie made $624 million worldwide, and even though some people criticized the plot, Mickey's performance stood out. His intensity, his accent, his improvised moments all felt unpredictable and dangerous. It was proof again that he could rise whenever someone gave him the space. But he never hid the darker parts of his life, especially the moments when he nearly ended everything. He once said that during a deep depression in 2010, he sat in a closet with a gun, ready to pull the trigger, until his dog Bo Jack came to him and made a small sound, almost as if asking who would look after him. Mickey said that moment saved his life. He even tried mouth-to-mouth on Bo Jack when the dog died in 2002. He took his body to a church to be blessed. His love for his dogs wasn't soft, it was survival. Even when he appeared in The Expendables in 2010, the chaos followed him. The movie opened with $82 million and made over $274 million overall. Yet he missed most of the press tour because he had gotten into a bar fight after filming and broken 3 ribs. People liked his character, but the story about his injuries and absence shaped the talk more than his role did. It added another chapter to his reputation as unpredictable, intense, and wounded. His personal life carried its own storms. In her 2011 memoir, Carrie Otis wrote that on their wedding night in 1992, he pulled a gun on her after she hesitated about the marriage. She claimed he had become jealous and controlling, threatening himself and sometimes others, even pulling out a Japanese sword and demanding an answer. She described daily beatings, phone tapping, and threats. He called it delusional book promotion, but she never backed down. Their marriage ended in December 1998 with a $2 million settlement. By then, he had admitted that he held her prisoner emotionally, which showed how deep the wounds ran on both sides. He spoke openly again in 2009 during an interview with Barbara Walters. He explained how he slept in a closet for 5 months around 2006, unable to face the world, holding a gun at one point before Bo Jack stopped him again. He said he didn't want to die, but wanted to disappear. That moment became one of the turning points that shaped the comeback people witnessed later. Long before all that, the violence in his life had older roots. He said his stepfather beat him more than 50 times, between the ages of 10 and 15, often with a phone receiver. That pain pushed him into boxing, where he could fight back in another way. It gave him strength, but also deepened the anger that followed him for years. His return to boxing later damaged his face and changed the way he looked on screen. Yet he said he needed it because it helped carry the rage he had never escaped. Even in 2025, trouble followed him again when he joined Celebrity Big Brother. He signed a €600,000 deal and lasted only 5 days. On day 3, he made sexually suggestive comments to the host. On day 5, he used threatening language toward Chris Hughes and made homophobic remarks about Jojo Siwa. Cameras caught everything. He apologized later and said he stepped over the line, but the headlines called it a final train wreck. Legal issues rose again as he considered a lawsuit against the show, and the whole world watched another fall happen in real time. Then came Night Walk in 2023, a film that marked another painful low. It made only $7,488 worldwide and earned a 1.8 rating on IMDb. Critics said it was a total failure. People wondered how someone who once stood at the top could fall to a place like that. His net worth, once around $10 million after The Wrestler, fell to about $5 million due to flops and bad investments. Behind all the chaos sat the choices that shaped his life. He once turned down the role of Doc Holliday in Tombstone in 1993. Val Kilmer took it instead and delivered one of the most iconic performances in Western cinema. The movie earned over $50 million, and Mickey could have made at least $5 million. People still talk about that missed chance. In 1994, he was arrested again and photographed with fresh boxing scars on his face. His girlfriend, Carrie Otis, bailed him out. The details of the charges stayed unclear, but the mugshots spread everywhere, showing how much the years of fighting had changed him. It captured a man caught between two worlds and losing his grip on both. And then came the most painful what-if of all. He could have played Butch in Pulp Fiction in 1994. The film earned over $213 million worldwide, and Bruce Willis made millions from back-end profits. If Mickey had taken it, he could have opened doors to Marvel, franchises, and long-term wealth. People say he could have made at least $20 million from that single choice. Instead, he chased boxing and walked away from a film that changed Hollywood.